Everybody, I'm Dr. Brane Gaber, and I was a pediatrician in intensive care unit for over 40 years. I'm not an expert on today's topics specifically, but all my life I was interested in a healthy lifestyle and staying young. So in my introduction to Benedict's lecture, I will talk about my personal practices and experiences regarding longevity. So because I was competitive diver, I will use a diver's jump as a metaphor for life. In order to have a smooth landing, the takeoff is very important. It enables you the height, the speed, the time to execute a perfect jump. And if you start worrying about the entry just about the surface, it is probably too late. And although you can make some correction during dive, just like in life, the sooner you start, the better. So in addition of the timing, the type of actions you're taking is also important. It is difficult to choose what actions to take for a healthier and longer life because there is a lot of different information on the topic that is constantly changing. Throughout the years, there are 3 books that impacted my lifestyle habits the most. The first was maybe 7 years ago, Fat Chance by Robert Lustig. So thanks to him, I decided to avoid sugar, especially fructose. Next is Stephen Gundry's book, The Longevity Paradox. He writes about the importance of microbiome for preventing inflammation and age-related problems. And so, according to him, I incorporated olive oil, prebiotics, resistant starches, and the food rich in polyamines into my diet. So, most recent and also most significant is David Sinclair's book, Lifespan, for me. I incorporated intermittent fasting, cool showers, and also high-intensity interval training into my life. Although I made these changes quite late in my life, I was always an active person, taking care of my mind and my body in many ways. So I believe that the early years of life are the most important for the way of age and how we age. And now I would like to invite Evgen Benedik to present these topics in detail. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Hello, also from my side, I will just share screen. It will be in the moment. Okay. So first, I would like to thank the organizers to inviting me at this lecture at Zoom. Today, I will talk about one very important rule in field of science, especially nutrition science. This is early nutrition for healthy aging. As you can see in this picture on the right side, the expected length of our life, it could be also 142 years in, let's say, a very optimistic and optimal environment, epigenetics. So in this talk, I would like to focus on this early nutritional programming, as Dr. Gaber mentioned. As you know, approximately half of the genes we get from mother and the other half from the father, but only around 20% of our genes cannot be regulated or cannot be influenced by our epigenetic factors or so-called environmental factors. But 80% of our genetic material can be actually influenced by these epigenetic factors, and as you can see on this slide, the first and the most important one is nutrition. Second factor is actually physical activity, which is playing also a very important role in this epigenetic world. So let's show you this epigenetic influence on bee example. So here you can see bee eggs or larvae, which are actually genetically identical, but only the nutrition defines whether they will become queens or workers. So if we feed them with royal jelly, then we will get queens. If we feed them with worker jelly, they become workers. So this sentence, "you are what you eat," is actually very meaningful. And also about and a further story about the bees, they also shown if they feed them with a sugar-rich diet, a kind of modern Western diet, then their lifespan decreases. In human population, we notice this with different kind of chronic diseases like obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and so on. What are the main epigenetic modification regulations on our DNA? So there are three different types: on histone modification, DNA methylation, and the regulation of RNA translation. And what is really interesting here, that our food which we are eating it like every day, they have like different kind of bioactive compounds, mainly vitamins, and also some polyphenols, amino acids, and so on, which can have great influence on our DNA regulation, expression of our DNA, our genes. But not also food as such, also our microbiota is very important, metabolically very active, let's say, organ in our body, which can also produce different kind of metabolites, which have also a very important role in this regulation system. So just one example from the nature here. We have here men which are which have healthy, balanced diet and exercising, and on the other hand, the men who have no good or unhealthy diet and without exercise. And here you can see on this slide that healthy male, they could have healthy child. Children, otherwise, they might have children with early obesity stages and early different kind of diseases. But the most important part in our actually reproducing area, they have women, because women, on one hand, if they have maternal undernutrition, and on the other hand, maternal overnutrition, usually also they have gestational diabetes. These are two important stages which could lead, in the first scenario, low birth weight infant, and then in adulthood they could have metabolic syndrome, which may lead to develop like type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and other diseases. On the other hand, maternal overnutrition can lead to high birth weight infant. Often this leads to adult obesity and also type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and different kind of cancers. So the nutrition during pregnancy, as you can see here, is very important, but not also during pregnancy, as you will see in the next slide. We are talking about first 1,000 days. This is the period about, let's say, when the nutrients or nutrition have really great impact, like from the epigenetic point of view. And we can talk about nutritional or metabolic programming. So this first 1,000 days includes, let's say, preconceptional periods, pregnancy, breastfeeding, and all the until the second year of age. You will see why this period is very important in the following slides. But here I would like to point out that a few years ago, with all the knowledge which we have, we now clearly understand, or still trying to understand, the importance of nutrition. And now we are talking about first 8,000 days, because also the nutrition during teenage period and young adulthood have really great impact on later life. So nutrition during pregnancy and during breastfeeding period, these are two periods which are really important. If you have balanced, healthy balanced nutrition during pregnancy, the children will start learning what mother's actually eating. And also during the breastfeeding period, the infants will start learning what kind of food they can expect when they will be around 6 months of age, when we start introducing solid food. And it is proven that those infants who have been breastfed and the mother didn't have any kind of diet, they have less problems with they are less picky eaters and less fuzzy eaters than those who were let's say on milk formula. Here on this slide you can see in x grams per day, and then in x axis you have the time in years. So this first 1,000 days, this is preconception period, and then after the conception you can see that increasing the body mass of the fetus is increasing really high. Also, we are expecting that infant would triple his or her body weight in the first year of life. So it's a very important period, because at that time it's crucial that pregnant woman and later on breastfeeding mother, and also then when we start introducing solid food, that we are introducing high density nutrient food, which can actually help the infant to develop like on the optimal level. As you can see then on this graph, the nutrition is also important through the childhood, teenager period, and until the young adults. After the 22 years or 21st year of life, the nutrition of course plays important role, but not as important in this first 8,000 days. Therefore, it's nutrition here the main epigenetic factor in later health of individuals. And if you don't believe me, you can see on this slide here, if you have healthy family, let's say with healthy food habits, healthy lifestyle, they will follow, their children will follow this low risk trajectory line. And if you have unhealthy and unbalanced diet, unhealthy lifestyle, then our infants will follow this upper line, higher risk trajectory. So in this epsilon X, actually, we have different kind of diseases. For example, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease. And in this early life, let's say in 1,000 days or in 8,000 days, first 8,000 days, the plasticity of our genetic material is the highest. The older we are, less plasticity we have in our genes. So what is really important is this sentence here, that the first 1,000 days of human development, including the preconception and pregnancy phase, accounts for the 70% of an individual's future life. So that's why we are calling this early period also the windows of opportunity. And let's see about the aging process. So in 2018 and 2019, there were, and also this year is planning to be a big conference. One of them is also we are just listening to now, where they are debating about the healthy aging and the impact of early life on this healthy aging. Now we increased ages in longevity, but you know, when we are old, we would like to also be healthy old, or to be healthy in later life. So on this conference last year, they also include, like my previous speaker on her master thesis were telling, it could be very good to combine those results also in political level, so that they could integrate it in our healthcare system. And now the one very important question: can nurturing the young be the key to tackling chronic diseases in the old? So the question or the answer here clearly is yes. And this conclusion I would like to take you as a home message. Tackling the epidemic of chronic diseases requires a comprehensive life course approach that must include not only pregnant women, as we already speak about, but also preconceptional period, pregnant women, children, teenagers, all up until the 21st year of age, or so-called first 8,000 days. Also, healthcare system and healthcare professionals should play an important role, but not only healthcare professionals, also politicians and all other aspects of experts are necessary to improve our quality of life. And then at the end, the health and well-being of the next generation must be everyone's business, not just the business of healthcare professionals, but everyone's business. And as Dr. Gaber already mentioned, we should start thinking about our later life expectancy today, not tomorrow, but today. And at the end, I would like to show you one provocative picture. We have spoken now, or in my talk, about bees, let's say identical twins, thousands of bees. But here we have identical human twin. They have shared the same genetic material. They have the same knowledge about healthy lifestyle, but one decided to use this knowledge in practice. The other one decided not to use it. And they are the same age, of course, and you can clearly see that this one on the left is seems quite young and quite healthy, and the one on the right side, he probably have already the metabolic syndrome, maybe type 2 diabetes, and maybe problems with cardiovascular diseases. So we have the knowledge. Now we just need to implement this knowledge into our everyday life or in our practice. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for this inspiring lecture, and also lecture that we must all think about, and think about our children or our younger friends and so on, and for us. So now I invite audience to ask questions to Dr. Rudi Branko Gaber or to Dr. Evgen Benedik. Then maybe I have a question for Dr. Gaber about how he started getting interested in life extension and the concept of gerotranscendence. Can you talk about it shortly?
So when I read the book of gerotranscendence, there is the proposition that you should limit your social activities, that you should choose easier lifestyle, and you should not have a very active sport activities, so a little bit retiree. And I was not just in content with these topics, so I was looking around to find some more active and more perspective ways of life, so that I can keep on going with my sport, with my type of cultural activities, with my social activities, and to preserve all the lifespan in good health. So this is my way of thinking, you know?
Thank you. And also I will ask Professor Benedik about intermittent fasting, how it works, maybe even for people who are older, not children anymore, how effective it is.
Yeah, thank you for the question. This intermittent fasting, it's it's hard to explain only in a short amount of time. There are quite a lot of research that this intermittent fasting has great impact also on older people. But of course, you should also always, when you start doing some kind of diet changes, you should also take a big picture of this change, because it might not always be appropriate for all the people. So it's very hard to say in general that some good effects of this diet could have good benefits to all. That's one point. It's the same for the different kind of diets which are described when studied in deeper. But in general, the results from the clinical trials, they are very promising, and also this biomechanism and in the body, it's quite promising, but also you need to take care to have a balanced diet when you're not into intermediate fasting.
Okay, super. Thank you for this insight.